Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and you are joining us for an episode called Girl Talk. So I had this idea that occasionally I would bring in different girlfriends of mine, or maybe just women in different industry or leadership positions, and we would talk about different topics. So today's Girl Talk is going to be Girl Talk focused on faith. So a lot of you guys know that I have a very small women's group that I've been doing life with for a little bit now, and I thought that they were the perfect group of girls for this since I've been walking life with them in faith. And so you guys asked a ton of questions on my Instagram, and we're really excited just to kind of just openly share our experience together and what our individual walks have been, how we've walked together and what that looks like, how we found such a real close-knit group of people and individuals that are truly there for each other. So instead of individually introducing each person, I had this really cute idea that I would first just say, welcome to the show, girls.
Thank you.
How cute was that? I knew you guys were going to do it like on point like that. So I had this really cute idea that why don't we introduce each other? So I'll introduce Lindsey. Lindsey, you introduce Jenna. Jenna, you introduce Amy, and kind of just say maybe how you met and then like what that person is to our group / like in her friend group, like what does she kind of embody? So I'll go first. This is Lindsey, and Lindsey and I met at Gold's Gym Venice. And she came up to me, we started a conversation, and I was like, this girl is cool. And then I want to say one of the first times that we actually really hung out after that initial contact and some like waves and some what's up in between our sets, acting too cool for school, was I was doing cardio and the sun was about to set. And I was like, I kind of want to ask this girl to go watch sunset with me. I was like, but I don't know her that well. And I was like, screw it. And so I walked up to her treadmill and I was like, hey. She's like, yeah. And I was like, do you want to go watch sunset with me? Like the question posed. She's like, yep. I was like, okay, like now? She's like, yep. So she gets off her treadmill. We go, we watch a sunset, we take a photo. It was the cutest first little hangout ever. And I just have to say that Lindsey, so who she is in our group and in our friend group, is number one, she has the best questions.
Yes.
Like especially,
oh my gosh,
right? Especially when it comes to like faith and this whole journey, which we'll get into. She's the one that asks all the hard questions, the one that you would never think to ask, and the one that you're like, ooh, how is she going to answer this?
Yeah. I really just want to know. This is what Lindsey does. She goes like this.
Yeah. So besides that, though, she's the friend that goes out of her way for every single person that she knows. She's the one that is like planning birthdays. I literally just went to one that she planned yesterday, and she's like, thank you for coming. And I'm like, it's not even your birthday, and she's writing cards for friends. She's, being a foster parent to dogs that are not even hers, that are just, so sweet, but like, wow. Such a job and so much. She's just that person that like goes out of her way with her actions with everyone she knows, and she's that way for everything and everyone. She's the doer. She's the person that's putting out good seeds everywhere that she goes. So she's a friend that like everyone hopes and dreams to have, and she happens to be our friend. Ha ha ha. So that is Lindsey.
Thank you. That was incredible. Thank you so much.
Of
That's
course.
So I get to do Jenna.
Yeah.
Okay. Jenna and I met through our fitness journey. We both were part of ADO Fitness, and as a matter of fact, my coach at the time reached out to me, and she said, I've got this girl, Jenna, she's moving to LA. She doesn't really know anybody. Just maybe if you could reach out to her, that'd be great. I was like, yeah, awesome.
You're the perfect person
so
for that.
I did. I reached out to Jenna and I was like, hey, you want to work out? We worked out. We had dinners. We just immediately clicked. And Jenna is kind of like, in a really roundabout way, a part of my faith journey in a really large way, actually. She introduced me to the first church that I really connected with. And I am so beyond grateful for that, because that introduction to church opened my eyes to something that I didn't even really understand existed. Because all the other churches that I had gone to were churchy. Whereas
we know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Churchy. Yeah. Whereas the church that she introduced me to, it felt like youthful and fun and Jesus filled. And really at the time it was so perfect. So I am so grateful to Jenna for that. Jenna in our group, Jenna is like this little ball of light that walks in, and that smile that you have, I hope you can see the smile right now, because it is so beautiful. And you come in and you you have a very quiet, somber way of still asking questions as well, but of listening. You are our listener.
Mm-hmm.
You are the person that hears every single word that we say, and then you repeat it back to us, and we're like, wait, did we just say that?
Yeah, we're like, wow, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said that? Okay. Thanks.
I'm like, so what you're telling me is.
Yeah. But it's so important though in this group to have that listener who is really, you take it all in, and it's so beautiful that I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm losing my words here, but you are, it's just, thank you for being the beautiful listener that you are.
So sweet. I love you guys. All true.
I did this on purpose. I was like, I want us to start out the podcast like, oh my God, I love you. I knew this would happen.
Tears already.
I know. I have a watery eye. And
Yeah, okay.
How do I follow that up? Oh my gosh. Well, talking about Amy,
That look says it all.
I know.
I feel like we all need to like tell how like what Amy is
I agree.
to this group, because
I
she's
agree.
like the
Yeah.
mama god. Like I don't even know. Like we kind of, when we first started this, like looked at her as like the leader, godliest woman. Like I still look at you that way.
1,000%.
Just so you know, like,
1,000%.
It didn't just start at the beginning.
No,
This is like
yeah.
ongoing.
Our mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like the reason why we have this group.
Oh yeah, because
and-
we would not have been able to keep it together.
No, absolutely not.
We'd be like,
Absolutely.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Who's gonna pray? Everyone's like,
I saw Vinny raise his hand.
Charlie, you're
Cool.
up.
We'll just be quiet. Great.
Yeah. Amazing. But I think did we meet on our first Flourish My Darling?
yeah.
meeting?
You guys did.
I think
we?
so.
Or was it at a cookie party or like a vision board party?
Okay,
The
it was
vision
at a
board
cookie
party.
party.
It was the vision board party.
Yes.
It was
But
the
you
vision
were,
board.
You
I
were
didn't go
running
to it.
around like
Sorry.
taking care of your
Yeah.
nieces, so
Yeah,
we
I
didn't
think
get
so.
to really talk. Like we talked a little bit,
Right.
But we really got to know each other during the first meeting,
Right.
And it was like, you guys, I do not open up to people, and instantly I'm like flooding the gates. Like Amy can ask me any question, and I'll tell her like my whole life story.
Right.
So I think that just like kind of embodies who she is as a person, and like feeling safe and comfortable to talk about Jesus and faith. When I know we started, we were like, I don't really know anything about the Bible. Like,
Yeah.
don't like judge us at
I knew
all.
nothing.
And she was like, you guys, it's fine. She basically just like took us under her wing and was the best like spiritual mama I could ever ask for.
Absolutely.
And I love you to pieces.
Is it extra warm in here now?
How's your eye? Is it watering? Because mine is.
I think I know have a watery eye.
I have to echo everything that you said. Amy, so for all of you guys that now know, Amy truly is like a huge mentor of faith in mine. So our group, we're all here, we're for each other, we're walking through this thing together, but she is like my faith mentor. I truly would not be where I'm at today in my own personal life, like in general, but also in my walk of faith without her. Truthfully, you've made such a incredible impact on me. And I think I want to echo things that you said about it being a really safe space to open up. I was someone who, you know, whenever we first kind of started, I was wanting to go in. I was like, I want to go into this thing. Like, I want to see what this is about. I really want to like deep dive. Like, I'm serious about it. I'm not going to, you know, I tried out a few different groups and I'd go and, you know, they were all like the typical thing that you think you would, you know, sign up for with a little small group. They're like, who wants to read? And like, no one wants to read. And I'm like, why are we here? If you're not going to read, if you're not going to like go in and really do this thing, why are you here?
Yeah.
And, you know, I understand different things for different people, but that was not for me.
Yeah.
And with you, you were able to cultivate such a place of non-judgment, such a place of acceptance, coming from love. And I remember still one of the things that you said whenever you started this was, I just want to know what's true. And I was like, me too. Finally. Instead of like just blindly, this is what it is. So we're just going to blindly do this. Like you never had the holier than thou thing going on. You never had that. You always were just like, I just want to know what's true. And you were okay with every single question. And you were okay with us asking you the hard ones and being like, you know what, I don't have the perfect answer to that. You know, like you never pretended to have it all together. You were just so like openly and vulnerably you. And because of that, I think it allowed you to rely on God, which is the heartbeat, and Jesus, which is the heartbeat of our walks and of us getting together. And we just so clearly could see that happening and see that through you. I know like at every meeting, sometimes we'd get together and like our lives were just madness. Like we're like essentially limping into the meeting and we're all like, "Ugh." And I'm over there, you know, yawning 30 times. And you guys are like, there's Emily with her yawning, you know, and you're like, we're going to do this. And you're like, Jesus, we need you. Pull us together right now, you know? And then all of a sudden what started out limping into a meeting was like serious, like just words that brought life to us. And that's another thing is you always really taught us, and I know I speak for all of us, that what's in the word is life. It's not these random things or sayings or teachings or this and that. It's actual life. Like it can breathe new life into any situation. And you just, man, you've taught me so much. So I love you. I thank you. I know that you have like so many rewards waiting for you in heaven, and we've already prayed for them to come now.
Yes. Can I interrupt and say,
of course.
One of the biggest things that Amy has taught me, well, pretty much everything in faith, but is the relationship and how important that was. And that was what I took from our first meeting was, it was, okay, we're going to talk about this. We're going to learn what's in this book and the truth of this book. But first and foremost, we're going to have like a solid relationship with Jesus. And that's where we need to be. That is the base of everything. And don't cry.
I'm just trying to breathe.
Okay.
She's a proud mom, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
Look at us.
I know. Like I'm overwhelmed and so blessed, and I'm sitting just taking it all in. And like the verse that I'm thinking of that I admired when looking at the scriptures was the disciples who were just a bunch of misfits, right? Like from all over the place, doing all different.
Definitely us.
You know what I mean? Like, doing all different kinds of things, but like one of the things that was said about them was, wow, it's obvious that they've been with Jesus because they knew that like in and of themselves, like, you know what I mean? They were just regular people. So I'm sitting listening and I'm like, I know that's just my story. And so I'm like, I'm at a place where I'm like, I can receive that because I know it's really truly just because I've been with him, right? Like I've literally just been with him, and like these things just, because none of this was on purpose. I didn't like have this like plan of, okay, so this is, and then this is what's going to happen in Emily's life, and then Jenna and Lindsey, and you know what I mean? Like the natural unfolding, you know, of just being with him. So I'm just kind of like sitting back, like watching the beauty that I can't take credit for, but I've been a part of, and that's really rewarding, and it makes all of it worth it. And honestly, the only reason I'm able to contribute that is because I've gone through it, right? Like, you know, we go through these things so that we can bring comfort to others. And you're right, like my journey started in truth. I'm like, you know what, I just need to know what's true. You know what I mean? Like, and whatever that turns out to be, I will accept that and I will believe that. But Jesus, you got to tell me, because there's so many different versions and so many different opinions, and I'm just gonna need you to tell me. And it turns out, and this is like my little phrase I've coined, I'm like, he's better than I knew.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's better.
So
he's better than we've known.
Yeah.
And not because there's not hard stuff, and not because he always tells us sweet things and never is like, hey, this isn't my best for you. But like, it's just, I mean, it's just him.
That's another thing, what you just said. Hey, this isn't my best for you. You were always able to guide us in such a gentle way, you know, where maybe you didn't even know the full circumstance of what might be going on, but maybe we would share something with you and you would always just express like, he loves you so much. And like, maybe this isn't the best way, you know, and I don't know, I can't say it the way that you say it, but like, it was just always so gentle and so guiding and so accepting of wherever it was that we were at. So if we were like, I'm wrong and I know I'm wrong and I don't want to change, you'd be like, cool.
It's okay.
Let's work on it. Let's work together. I'll sit with you. You'd come sit next to us. You know?
It's so true. I was going to say that too. Like you accepted us for every fault or what, not even a fault, just exactly where we were. And there were so many pivotal moments, I know for each of us, but for me in particular, that you just accepted me when I didn't feel like anybody else did for exactly who I was. And now this is not, we're both going to start tearing now. But
now I have two leaky eyes.
But thank you.
Allergies,
Oh my
guys.
gosh. I love you all so much. But like, don't think that I haven't been equally as rewarded in all of y'all's company. And I remember one of the first times we were together, you guys were like, I'm so sorry, you're not going to get as much out of this as I am. And
Emily said that.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I was like, why are you here?
You're like, but one of my
sorry.
No, but like one of my heartbeats has been like faith in Jesus has like a lot of language to it that almost feels like an exclusive club sometimes that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have like understanding behind it. So I've always wanted to put like language. And so that isn't pretentious. That isn't like hierarchy. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like it's regular. It's like street. You know what I mean? So I, not that I'm street. Let's just get that clear.
Urban Dictionary.
And I looked at Jenna. I was like, street.
I approve of that.
Thank you. But like, I loved the simplicity of our conversation sometimes. I will never forget the first time we were together. It was one of your beautiful questions, Lindsey. And I'm like, okay, let's just read this. And I don't even know what passage, but it was like, da 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 da, and then an angel, la la la. And Lindsey puts her little hand up and she's like, what's an angel? And I was like, oh, wow. And it was like, this is special. This is awesome. Like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times we take for granted those things like in Sunday school or whatever you've heard in church. And I was like, oh my gosh, this precious girl doesn't know what an angel is. And I love that so much. I've actually been jealous from time to time that she's gotten to know Jesus as an adult without a lot of the preconceived stuff, going on to like wade through, right?
Right. Or like having, an experience like completely ruin her or like preconceived notions. Yeah.
It's fresh eyes with with almost an ease in believing. For her, it's like, you know what I mean? Sometimes, not that it's going to be perfect, but there have been times, where it's like, and she takes it at its word, as we read the scriptures, and she goes and applies it. And I mean, like her prayer life, and she's like, I saw this, and God showed me this. And it's like, it's that childlike faith, you know what I mean? And so as we converse, and it's like, you guys are at all different places, right? We've had all different journeys, different stories. I have loved it so much. It has helped me articulate language that I've wanted to be able to articulate. Because I don't want to be regular. I'm purposing to pioneer, like, and it's hard when you've been in a place for a long time to find new language. But I feel like language is incredibly important in how something is communicated. And if our heartbeat is to help people know Jesus, then the language we use to do that is really important.
I agree.
So you guys have helped me with that.
Oh, good. Okay, so it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a question I'd like for each of us to answer. So I just want to know individually, why have you chosen to walk with God? Like, why have you chosen that for your life in a really real, just like experiential type of way? Like, why? It's a choice, right? So like, why did you make that choice for your life? Amy.
Okay. Well, for me.
Go ahead.
For me, it started for me at 15. And I had an encounter.
Real quick, we have some difficulties. Just rotate your mic this way. Is that right?
Like down.
Just bend it down a little bit.
There.
you go.
There you go.
that?
So that you can speak directly into the...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I had an encounter with God actually through a worship song. It was, I think he was for sure like stirring me, like, because he pursues us all. He really is coming for everybody if we, and so I experienced like him. It wasn't a conversation about him. It wasn't a message. It was like, it was a worship song, and the atmosphere changed. And I knew, okay, you are who I want. I understand that you are now why I live, what my life is about. Like, we're supposed to do this together. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And it was really intense for me. Like, I remember going back to school, and it wasn't like a really popular thing, but it was like for real in me. It was like dug down and deep. And but then later on, lots of confusion that we talked about. And then I just was like, Jesus, I need to know what's real about you. But it was an experience that I had. It was
And would you say it's an experience that like no one could convince you otherwise? That kind of thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
I mean, not that we don't have questions in other ways in life, but you go back to those moments where you know that you know that he has revealed himself to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I remember you came to Bible study one time and you were like, I have to tell you guys about this.
Yeah.
And you had like an intense
Okay,
night.
should I go next then?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I mean I grew up in the church. I grew up believing. I grew up like believing in God, always, that kind of thing, but I never had like a 100% experience where like no one could ever tell me different for the rest of my life. Like I would, die knowing what I know. And it was this experience. It was actually February 23rd, 2019. And it was just like a regular Saturday. I was sitting in my bed and I was going to do one of the things like pray or read or all of the things that you do, an action. And I just decided for some reason, I was like, I'm just going to sit here, and I was just like, God, I just want to be with you. I just want to be with you. I just want to sit with you. And I was like praying and praying and praying. And in that moment, sorry, it's hard to talk about. It's different having video.
Right.
He revealed himself in such a real way. No one could ever convince me different. It's by far like the best experience of my entire life. It's something that my heart knows, and that, like I said, no one could ever tell me different. I literally told him, you'll never have to do anything for me again in my entire life. And I fully know that you're real. And I fully know that like that's where we're headed next. And before that experience, I would say I always had faith and belief, and I always pursued that. And I always believed, but I also could see God in other ways that people would think is just a coincidence. But because I was speaking or praying to him about that thing, I'm like, that's not a coincidence. Like it's God. So like I always kind of knew like, oh, that's God, or oh, that's God. But it was this one experience that wrecked me in the best way possible. And like, it's my favorite moment in the world to look back on. And I literally now, I know that there is nothing that I could ever say or do to give somebody what I have, but that it comes from Jesus alone. And that I pray now that every single person gets their own belief and their own knowing. And that's why I don't share the exact details of my experience either, because there's no experience, no amount of convincing or opinion that could ever get you to feel what my heart knows. So I just pray every single day that everyone feels they get their own experience and their own knowing. Because once you have your knowing, man, you're just like, no one can take that away from you. And it's the best thing in the world.
So here's the thing, right? You're calling this a faith talk, right? Like we're talking about faith, we're talking about journey, and you're describing faith literally in its original definition means to be persuaded. You know what I mean? Like to be persuaded. And so
See, she's teaching me right now. I'm like,
well,
oh.
I'm just like, it's dawning on me in this moment, and I'm realizing, but we all have our choice of whether or not we will allow ourselves to be persuaded.
Oh, wow.
So you have this encounter, where he reveals himself to you. But a lot of times we have all this residue that sometimes, we make him work a little bit harder. But at some point, it really is going to be our choice of whether or not we will allow ourselves to be persuaded, because I have a feeling those things are more readily available than we realize. But there's like a moment where he reveals himself to us, and we get to choose whether or not we will allow our hearts to be persuaded when we could talk ourselves out of it. But like you said, that was the moment. No one can talk me out of this. You were fully persuaded. And that's I think where I was like, nope, now I know now for me, not as a story that someone has told me, or a conversation that was someone else's personal experience. Now it's mine.
Yeah, because I always question that. I'm like, am I believing the story that everyone talks about? Like, and I like to question everything. I like to ask all the questions, and so, I guess before I'd always felt him or experienced him in different ways, but never that direct of a way to where I was like, done.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's next? Jenna?
I think my experience is similar to you guys as to where I had like that, wow, I cannot, am I making this up? Like, what the heck is going on? 'Cause like you, I feel like even now I'm like, God, show me this or show me that. And he might show me like 3 times, and I just either am not paying attention or I'm like, maybe, but like show me again so I actually know that was you. So I'm like very hard to convince, I guess, if you want to use that word. But when my mom passed away, I was like at my lowest of lows, and I was like, I have nothing to lean on. I don't have my best friend anymore. Like I have no idea what to do with my life. And so I actually went to trauma PTSD counseling, and I had like this moment where he like took her from me out of my hands and was like, I'm taking care of her. Like, I have her now. And I was like, I can't, like, there's no words to describe that. And I freely, like, I was probably like smiling in the weirdest way. Like, I know that she's taken care of, and I'm like, okay now, because I know that he is like the best father that anyone could ask for. So after that, I was like, I'll do anything you say. Like, I fully believe you. And after that, like, my faith just exponentially grew, and it was like the most incredible thing ever. So, I mean, I still have my moments of like doubting, why do you make me go through this or that or whatnot?
Sure.
But yeah, like that just like in your heart is the most beautiful thing that you can ever experience.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember this. Did you grow up in the faith?
No.
Okay.
My mom grew up Catholic. My dad's Jewish. So
I knew
like
that.
I went to Bible study like a few times because my friend asked me to go with her in high school, but I was like very out of it. I didn't know anything. So like I didn't grow up either way. So kind of like Lindsey, like when I first got into it, I like needed direction, and I kind of just, I didn't have a bad experience, but I never had like a great, I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
So no. But I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That is very beautiful. Okay, it's my turn. This is going to surprise and shock everybody, but I came to faith asking a lot of questions.
From who? Or
From
one,
myself.
One
Like-
person at least, I remember. You remember that you had like a whole conversation with an atheist
Oh,
that
yeah.
you told me
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
and you were like,
that was one of the
convince me
first
he's
ones.
not real.
Well, but yes. So yeah, I did. That was one of the first conversations. I was like, okay, so you've clearly done all your research. Explain it to me. And that's sort of how I approached God and Jesus.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, prove it. Okay, this girl had a dream. I want a dream.
Yeah.
And he gave me a dream.
Yeah.
And then, like all these little things that kept, I was like, okay, well, show me this. And then he would.
I remember this.
And and my moment, if you will, was Amy invited Emily and I to a women's retreat, would you call it?
Like a
Or
conference, something like that.
Yeah. And it was the last day of the conference. And I felt like I just felt icky about being there. I had a weird conversation with my mom. I should probably back up. I was raised Jewish. And I had a bat mitzvah. I went through the whole shebang. And so Christianity was very much outside of my realm. But I was so curious, and I had just now had all of these experiences that I couldn't deny. But I still wasn't understanding them fully. I'm like, how is this happening? And so we went to this conference, and on the third day, I was just, things were going wrong. I was feeling like sick, like icky inside my body. And I remember there was a moment where he called people up, the pastor at the time, he called people up to the front. Emily, you walked up, you left, and Amy stayed with me. And part of my questioning in that moment was, like my family really does not approve of this. They don't understand it. They don't get it. And so I was feeling just upset. And I remember praying, it was a moment of prayer. And I remember putting my head down and saying, Jesus, if you're real, I need you to show up. Like right now, this is the time, now or never, buddy. And he did, because amen. And the first words out of the pastor's mouth were, you may be the only person in your family who believes, and that's okay.
Wow, I got chills.
And I started crying uncontrollably, as one does.
One does.
Fair enough. And Amy just held me, and we, and then Emily walks back. She's like,
what did I walk into?
everything okay?
What happened?
You okay?
No, actually, when I walked away, you were like anxious, and you could see it all over your body.
Yeah.
And when I came back, it was like just,
Oh, that's interesting.
oh yeah, it was. You could see it all over your whole body and your demeanor. I knew, like I already knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, what happened?
Thank you.
Told you so.
Nuts.
Yeah. But that was my, if you will,
That's so
moment. And since then, I've still been asking questions because I still don't know everything, but I now can't deny.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no denying.
That's beautiful. So we've all had our own experiences. And I think that's the biggest thing is that our experiences have led us to be like, okay, we're doing this. And I know that one thing that set this group apart, even that very first one that we did, was every single person had an eagerness and a desire to be there. Like I got around you guys, I was like, oh, they're just as eager as I am to like truthfully do this thing in a real way. And like we said before, there was a insane amount of just like honesty and respect and vulnerability and all of these things that, you know, maybe, I don't know, our group was put together for a very specific reason because I too would not open up, especially, you know, just wondering, are, you know, people going to tell all of my details to everybody and, you know, wondering who I can really trust. And I knew from, you know, the first moment that I could really trust you guys and that I could really be myself with you guys, which is just so refreshing. So basically like we've been meeting, we did like once a week for a very long time. We went so long without even missing one.
Yeah, we did. And that was major with everyone's schedules and you being in and out of town and you being in and out of town and you being in and out of town.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And here's the thing. It's just because we placed this thing, this walk, this journey as like the most important thing.
It's such a priority.
Like we all had to do it. Like we live in LA, there's traffic, there's tons of schedules and traveling and whatever. And then like as things evolved, we would, you know, we had to do some Zoom calls and things like that. But one thing that I like about this group is I feel like we're that group that no matter how much time has passed, we literally just like, okay, update me, where are we at? And we just, it's like not a single day has gone by. Someone asked like, how did you girls stay together during quarantine? And I'm like, easy. We just, oh, hey, it's a Tuesday. How's the last 6 months of your life?
Can I pray for you real quick?
Yeah.
What you need. Okay, cool. Gotcha.
And so people asked us like, how did we develop these relationships and how did we develop friendships that are like, for example, I know even if we didn't talk for like 3 months, I could call any one of these women and just say this address 7 p.m. Like I need you. And like in a heartbeat, these women would be there. And that's really rare to find. So how do you girls think that we cultivated that?
Jesus.
I mean, there is a bond in him that you really can't find in anything else.
And we're all so different.
So different.
Like we normally wouldn't just like hang out, right?
I should also say
Maybe, I
I'm the
don't know.
one in here that doesn't frequent the gym like the rest of these girls. I have no idea how I ended up with you guys, but I'm so grateful. It's been awesome. But I mean that's kind of simply put. No, it is. There's a bond in him that there's love. There's love and there's acceptance, you know, and I think that can only come with the one who teaches you how to love so well, you know?
Yeah.
So like when you have been loved, now you can give love. You know what I mean? And there are very few places that understand what true love like really is. So it's sacrificial. So we are there for each other. We, you know, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of that simple.
Yeah. Go out of our way for each other.
Well, but so like him, because he's loved us well, and so we're able to love each other well, and we allow ourselves to be loved by each other. That's kind of key too.
Yeah, that's
you know,
huge.
You know what I mean? If people stand on the outside and don't allow, you know, that to happen, you know, we're all participate. So. And now you all pray too.
Wait. Yeah. So for a long time, it was really just Amy, you know, like, starting and closing out.
Who wants to pray?
Crickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we got a few questions just about life in general. People are very curious about kind of how we walk throughout life and how we handle certain things, especially faith being the center of our lives. So, for example, and I really wanted to answer this one. Someone asked, dating as a Christian or in a relationship with God when the other person is not. So I would love to hear your feedback actually, and then I'll answer. I have a very specific answer for this, but I'm curious to hear y'all's feedback and like your true just experience or opinion or whatever it is. So any, mini, miny, mo.
I mean, I'll start because I don't have a whole lot to say. I am new back in the dating scene and new-ish in the faith. So it's all still very new for me. But the few dates that I have been on, and I really hope they don't listen to this podcast, I am like I just know that they weren't based in faith. And so I immediately knew that it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Jenna, do you want to go?
Yeah. I'm very particular now. So in the past, when I first started my faith journey, I think I was going for anyone who I found attractive. Let's just be honest. I was like, oh, I'm physically attracted to you. Like, I'm going to pursue you. And I knew that they weren't they didn't believe in God. And I think I don't know why I would do this. This is probably something I need to look into for myself. But like, I would believe that my faith would like rub off on them and like maybe they would start coming to church with me and then they would start believing in God. And it was like this fairy tale weird like story that I had in my mind. But now I'm very like, you have to be, even my dating website is like, you have to be a Christian. You won't even show up if you're not.
Yeah.
It's a club. But I just know that like that is of the most importance to what I want in a marriage. And so why would I date someone if I'm not, I'm dating for marriage. So there's no point in me wasting my time or their time if they're not walking the same walk that I am, because that's just pointless. So I'm very, very like selective on who I date, and they have to be, I want someone to lead me in faith, and I'm very open about that. Some women are like, I want to lead the marriage, and I think that that's amazing as well. But like, I think just knowing what you want and what God has showed you for your future, for your partner, what like qualities they have, what your marriage is going to look like I have a very clear vision of that, and I'm very thankful that he's given me that. So I think that just is how I walk into relationships, knowing all of that.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
I have a couple thoughts. One is just a verse in the Bible, and it says, how can two walk together unless they be agreed? I mean, you think of like, if you're going somewhere and you're walking and you're not agreed with where you're going, that's going to be a really difficult journey to navigate. And I even think, I mean, you guys being so into fitness and been competitors and all those things, like that's incredibly important and on your high value list. And so to partner you with somebody who doesn't care about that at all is, I mean, like you can't imagine that. You wouldn't choose that, right? And
Definitely
so, and so it kind of,
Absolutely not.
it depends,
Bye. Next.
Yeah, it depends on your value system. And because he is our number one value, because he is at the top of our list, it's impossible to partner with somebody, because that's what that relationship is. Like, you are choosing a partner, somebody to do life with. And so it just feels like incredibly an uphill battle when it doesn't have to be,
Yeah, I have thoughts on this as well, because I have experience with dating someone who didn't believe in God, didn't have a relationship with God, but they were such an incredible person, and they had all these great things, and they really were just like, I'm like, how do they not believe in God? Because they just choose to be such a great person. But for me, I have so many different aspects to who I am, and I know that for myself, I want my partner, my number one person in life, to fulfill and for me to be able to share those aspects of myself. And for me, like, God is such a driving force in the direction of how I do literally everything. So if I'm not able to say, hey, like, look what God's showing me in my life, or look what, like, where I feel like he's taking me. Because I would try to have those conversations, and I would be so disappointed that, like, it wasn't heard, and it felt like it was just so not reciprocated, So I know for myself, because I've always been like, but I love everyone, and like, same thing like you, like maybe, I can help bring them, to God and show them how incredible a relationship truly is. But what I've found is that for my number one person, it's not a pretentious, oh, you don't believe what I believe, so I'm not going to be with you. It's, you're missing out on like one of the best, deepest connections that you could ever possibly have. And this incredible journey that only two people who, like you said, are on the same path can take together. So for myself, I have to be able to share that with them. I need to be encouraged in that way, and I don't want to be over there sharing and being encouraged with another male believer that's not my partner,
Right.
and like, I want that to be my partner. matter in life. So that's why, my life choice is that, man, they have to. Like, I need them when things go wrong to grab me and say a prayer. Like, I need that.
Yeah.
It brings so much life. It's crazy. I remember when you prayed for me in this last call, I swear you were like our secret weapon that we didn't know about because Jenna's one who I'd say out of all of us, she's the least likely one to pray or used to be.
Yeah.
But we've all started to pray, and like, so we're all praying for each other and we're praying for the same thing for each other. But then she opens her mouth and I swear I was just like, like, I don't know. Like, you're just this secret weapon.
Yeah.
And so I use that as an example to like imagine that being the person that you're with, compared to somebody who's like, oh yeah, like God is great, God is good, let us eat our food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have a few other questions from the listeners. Someone asked, how do you deal with anxiety? And I feel like I already know the verse that's in Amy's head because you helped us so much with this. So go ahead.
Tell me about that first.
The verse that's in your head is, it says, be anxious about nothing.
Right.
I don't remember the rest.
Well, no. Well,
Right?
I just didn't remember like actually specifically touching on that topic. But yeah, don't be anxious about anything. In everything, by prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God. So basically, the gist of it is like we run to God. You know what I mean? I think it's just the first awareness that you don't have to be. You know
anxious?
What I mean? Yeah, like you don't have to be anxious. Like it's like don't be, meaning there's an option to not be. And I can't say that it's like going to be an immediate like, oh, okay, just stop. You know what I mean? Like we don't ever stop any of the things we've been used to that way. But he is peace. Like he is the personification of peace. And so anxiety's like this like inner turmoil, this storm, and knowing how to run to him in that, he kind of takes it.
Something that you taught us that just really stuck out to me was that his word and everything that's written in there, those are his promises to us, and that they have life of their own, and that if we speak those promises, even our word, the spoken word, is so powerful. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit, and how in those moments of feeling super anxious, like what are some actionable things that you can actually do that will really help?
Yeah. It's on topic, but a little off topic, because this morning in my time with Jesus, I was like, can you come to me? I don't feel like I'm coming to you. Can you just come to me? Like, I need you to pursue me. I feel like I'm doing, some stuff right now. And I just felt in my spirit that I needed to go to Song of Songs in the Bible. And so I did. And I opened it chapter 2. And I have read and highlighted this chapter so many different times for different reasons. But I didn't highlight the thing he was going to say to me today. And it was everything about, I've come to you. I have come to you. And it literally said it like 3 different times. I could pull up my Bible and my notebook. Wow. And so in that moment, like it wasn't just like information to my head, like, okay, he's here. You know what I mean? It was like healing to my soul. Like it wasn't just the words because the Bible talks about he is the word. So he doesn't just say words. And when we believe the word of God, we know that in the beginning he created with his words. So when he says water shows up. So when he says, I love you, those are not just words like someone else says it. You feel it. You experience it. So today it wasn't just like, oh, I've answered your question. I'm here. What would you like to talk about? It was like, oh my gosh, like he's pursued me. It's encompasses so many different things. So when he says to you specifically in a moment, and not just in this road, like, yes, we remember those words, but we remember them because he spoke it to us once before. So when we're wrestling with it in that moment, we cry out to him, we come to him, and then he has fresh things to say to us that constantly bring healing. And then we tend to grow up in that. And so the anxiousness we once dealt with, and he was okay to sit with us in it and work us out of it, we don't deal with it the same. I mean, I'll be honest to say, yesterday morning, I mean, y'all know because I reached out to you, I'm like, pray for me. This morning is weird, and I think I said to Lindsey this afternoon, I was like, I literally felt anxiety come from me, and that's not my battle. And I was like, this ain't mine. And I literally was like, but I felt it so strong. But because of that history and because of that relationship I've built, I just was like, that's not mine.
Wow.
I was like, that does not belong to me. You know what I mean? Like, I will not be anxious. So yeah.
It's interesting that you were experiencing that, because I got to be totally honest. I didn't say anything in the group, but I had like the most anxious day yesterday.
Really?
Like I was experiencing the most amount of anxiety, and it was just felt like you, it felt like it just like came,
Yeah.
and it was so heavy on me, and I was like, I had to go to the ocean. I was like, I need your love. I know it's as great as the ocean. Help.
I just remember something about the ocean. I'm going to go there.
Yeah, that's always my go-to, is I just go get in the ocean. So it's interesting that you were kind of dealing with the same thing, but something that I think you taught us is like, when we are experiencing those hard moments, to look back on what he said, like what did he say, and what did he say about this, and like just some like practical tips for people that are watching or listening. You can literally go into the Bible app and type in anxiety, type in fear, type in love, type in depression, and all these things, and you can find verses that go along with that. And something that's been helpful for me in my walk is reading those, and reading as much as I can about it, and studying it. In one sense, it gets your mind off of whatever you were anxious about.
Yeah.
And in the other sense, like, it really has helped me.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys wanted to add about that?
I don't, it's not something that I battle with a lot, but when things do come up, one of the things that Amy taught us that I at least took in was remembering the truth in that moment. So whatever is bringing you anxiety, if you're able to then see what the truth is in that anxiety, like what caused it, why do you, like, where are you coming from in it? Just truth. Like we're starting this conversation, and we're, it comes back to truth always. It always comes back to the truth.
Yeah.
So that was just something that I always took in. And whenever I do feel, I don't even want to call it anxious, but not myself.
I'll tell you what it feels like.
No, I mean, we've all experienced anxiety, but
Yeah.
that's not my thing. I don't know. I always try to remember truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So if someone had a really great question that I would like us to address, like anyone can speak on it. It says, does God really help you through the tough times? So this is someone that I don't think believes, and they're saying, can he really help you in the tough times? Like when things are horrible, like they're really wanting to know realistically, like how does he actually help you?
It's like a sense of like a warm hug without like actually getting one. I don't know how to explain it, because I'm jealous of you guys, but I have bad anxiety quite frequently. And I was going to say this before, but like when I'm having those moments, I just close my eyes and I take as many deep breaths as I need, and I talk to him, and I'm like, one, I've tried to memorize a lot of scripture around anxiety, because I can speak that and the enemy can go away and do what he needs to do. But I think, okay, I know that this is your plan. So for me, a lot of my anxiety comes from not knowing what's going to happen, or being upset that something happened. But in my mind, in my heart, I know that that is his plan. So then I have to like speak it out. It's like, I'm really anxious and I'm really upset about this right now, but I trust in your plan. And then I think to myself, I'm like, okay, so you just said that you trust in his plan, so why are you anxious? It's like I'm having a battle with myself. I'm like, I trust you, then why are you anxious? But you're anxious because you don't trust him. And then it's like, it comes back to the fact that like, if I don't put my faith and my trust in him, then what is this relationship? So it just all like circles back to that. But back to the question of how do I know, what was it?
Like, how does he help you through hard times?
It's kind of just like the same thing that he said. It's just like he will remind you of his word. Like in the weirdest ways, he'll just show up and be like, I'm here. Because a lot of the times I feel so alone, and it's like a random weird thing. Like sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I'm like, I just feel so different than everyone else. Like I feel like everyone's walking this way and I'm the only person walking this way. And it's a really weird feeling. But then he just shows up, and I'm like, sometimes like my prayer is literally, Jesus, come and like hold my hand and walk down the street with me, because I need you. So like in those moments I literally feel him, and it's like, okay, I'm not alone. So like that's, for me, he just ends up showing up in so many like unique and special ways.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have one experience that I want to talk about. It's when I was going through heartbreak, and I remember Amy brought up the verse that he is near or dear to the brokenhearted, right? And so because that is truth, I knew that. And you said even that like he's so sweet and he's so much better than we've known, that if you ask him to show his love for you, you will start to see it. And I remember this day because it was Valentine's Day and I was heartbroken and I was recently heartbroken, like so bad. I couldn't even like hold it together. And I, I remember seeing flowers that day, and you had just told me this, and I was like, and I just smiled. I was like, flowers really make me feel loved. And I was just like really happy. And then that day, I cannot tell you how many flowers I got delivered to my door. You guys were part of them. So, I mean, it was like the first set of flowers, I didn't notice it. And the second set of flowers, even then, I still didn't really get it. God's like, dear God, someone else send her flowers. Dear myself. And so I think it took like the third set of flowers to, I was like, that's so sweet. And then I just like bawled because it like hit me all at once. That earlier I was like, with flowers, it makes me feel so loved. And I had just asked God to like show his love for me. And then all of a sudden I looked around and there was flowers everywhere, like in such a real way. Yeah. And that's what's cool is like you said, he's just so much better, so much greater than we've ever known. And he's so willing to like meet us places, not as like a genie in a bottle. We can't just like wish things to happen, but like if we really come to him with the right heart posture, that he really will show up for us in ways that will mean something to us. When that last set of flowers came, the people coming were like, well, what is wrong with you? It's just flowers. But I was like, you don't understand. I was like, it's one of those things. Like I prayed for this. I asked specifically, show me like a token or a thing or something of your love. And so for me, that was such a and I don't get moments like that all the time, where I'm like, flowers make me feel loved. Show me your love. And it's not like that all the time, but like, it's cool because like he's willing to do that.
Yes, he is.
And it's like one of those other really cool moments. So for me, he helped me through that hard time when I didn't say I'm having a hard time, screw you, because my life sucks. I was just like, I cannot go on. I need you, and I need to know that someone out there loves me. Like I need to feel love. And in that moment, he showed me his love, like in such a beautiful way. It's one of the other like beautiful moments I'll always hold on to.
Yeah.
Anyone else with how God has helped you through hard times, or like how he really is there for you?
I mean, there's like a variety of ways. I mean, I have actually a similar story to that, but you already told that one. So I'll tell a different one. But where he brought me flowers, because I was like, no one ever gives me flowers. And they just started showing up my door that day. Wow. So you have those beautiful moments, but then sometimes it's a little more subtle. Sometimes it's not those moments that feel like almost miraculous, right? It could be a conversation, and that happened to me recently. Like I was just dealing with some things and felt very alone in it and didn't feel validated and felt like I needed someone to speak for me. And it's almost like this luncheon and this set of circumstances was set up, and there was a woman there that I knew very casually but not deeply. And it just opened up, and she began speaking things that like were validating me. Like it was like I needed to hear those exact words, and this woman had no idea. And then her and her husband actually have just decided, I've gone to Bible college, and they just have decided to just support my life with all kinds of, things and prayer. And it's like, I felt loved in all of those things, but their words, like in that moment, I needed those words more than anything else, that they decided to come alongside and be like, how can we pray for you today, or whatever's going on. And so he's pretty unique in it. He can get creative in however. But you're right. Like our heart, if we're like, I really am trying to figure out if you're real and you care and you will help me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to reiterate all of the same things, but prayer, like the three of you guys, to be honest, for me, have been what get me through those hard times. Finding a community of people that also believe, that will drop everything and just pray immediately for you. Because I've dropped to my knees when things are really bad, and I'm like, okay, God, just take this hurt, take this pain away. I don't want to feel this anymore. And I will pray, and I will call my friends, and I will say, I just need you to pray for me. I just don't want to feel this way. And that's when it happens. Where I wake up the next morning after I've fallen to my knees, after I know that I've got 3 women who are praying for me, not even on the phone, or we're not communicating in that moment, but I know you are privately praying for me, that I can wake up the next morning and feel a little less heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And that has gotten me through a lot of tough times.
That's beautiful. You guys, this podcast has touched my heart.
Me too.
Comment below on YouTube, share on Instagram stories. Let us know what your feedback was for this episode. And I just have to say thank you so much to each and every one of you. You really, each one of you, I know we focused a little bit on Amy being the mentor today, but truthfully, every one of us plays such a different role in this. And I think that's what makes our group so beautiful.
Yeah.
So just thank you so much for taking time to come on the show today.
Thank you.
Oh,
this is
you.
fun.
I would like to end, and I'm going to put you on the spot and ask if you wouldn't mind praying to close us out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are listening that believe. There's a lot of people listening that have been completely turned away from faith and the walk in general. I don't know many people that can teach the walk the way that you do. There's a lot of people that don't believe at all. They're atheists that are listening. So I just want to pray just something for not just us, but for everyone that's listening, just as like an all-encompassing, just kind of bring them into this moment the way that we do, the way that we end things.
Love it.
And if we could get away from the microphones, we'd hold hands. But for now, we'll just...
Absolutely. Jesus, I'm taking a minute to really just kind of marinate in your name. And I know that you see every person that will be in ear reach of this conversation. And we all come from different places with different thoughts, with different questions, with different experiences. But what I want to ask you, and I know that you will do this, is that wherever the hearts are that are seeking your reality, that you would meet them as a result of this conversation, but not just in hearing this, but like in their life. I thank you so much that this prayer can literally go out, whether it's days from now, weeks from now, months from now, and literally bring answers that far into the future. That the hearts that are yearning for a love that they didn't even think was possible, their souls crying out, wanting to believe in a higher being, but they just can't. I pray for faith. So God, I pray that you would continue to pursue until they can grasp it the way that they can. So we thank you for pursuing us. We thank you for being so patient with us until we could be persuaded. So Lord, I just call forth all of the activity in all of the listeners so that they will know that you are real and that you would help them believe and trust you with their life, that they wouldn't just go, oh, let me read a few scriptures and feel great today, but may there be a surrender and a yielding to do life with you from here to the end. God, just convince people of your reality in intimate and personal ways. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you. You guys see why we love her. All right, that's going to wrap up today's episode of Girl Talk. Like I said, let us know your feedback. We would love to hear from you. I will have all of their links below so that you can tag them on Instagram. You can follow them, send them a message. And without further ado, I'll see you in the next episode.